Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you probably already know that I'm nearing the end. I'm not at the end, but I'm nearing the end of my deep dive into the Thoth system. And yes, I call it a system. The system created by Lady Frida Harris and Harris-Crowley. And within that deep dive, I've been doing a series within a series. I've been doing my Back to Basics series, in which I've limited myself to 3 tarot cards and 2 oracle cards for the spread. And if you've been following me here on YouTube for the last few years, you know that that's quite a restrained spread for me, right? So every week I ask the question, how can we live life more intentionally in the coming week? And I use tarot cards and oracle cards to help explore that topic, because that is the focus of this channel, living life intentionally. And I've already got a spread already laid out for us, but as usual, before we go into the spread, I'd like us to focus our attention. Yeah? Let's focus our attention. You probably already saw in the title. What was the title? Too much of a good thing. How is it possible to have too much of a good thing? Is it possible? Well, let's think about Thanksgiving. Yeah? In North America and other places around the world, we have something called Thanksgiving, and probably you already know that, but maybe you don't. Maybe you're from a part of the world that doesn't celebrate something called Thanksgiving, and this is for you. And I'll talk about the United States context. So, in the United States, on Thanksgiving, if we are blessed, if we are fortunate, we have a large meal together that is delicious. And maybe even if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, you've had a very large, delicious meal set out before you. It's a wonderful thing. And what do we often do? Maybe not always, but sometimes at least, we go in and we eat 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 and we fill ourselves up to bursting, right? We overindulge sometimes. We get too much of a good thing. And how do we feel afterwards? Do we feel energized? Do we feel ready to go? Do all of those additional calories make us want to go play sports and do something creative and use up that energy? No, it doesn't. No, they don't. Right? We tend to want to just sit or maybe sleep and not move. Right? That overindulgence, that oversatiety saps us of our energy. And this week's Tarot and Oracle guide is pointing us in that direction, is pointing out that potential. And it doesn't even have to be food, right? You can think exercise is excellent, and I think exercise is excellent. I exercise often, but it is possible to get too much of a good thing. Exercise being good, it's possible to get too much exercise and not be able to recover. And over time, that can sap us of our energy to be able to do the things we want to do in our lives. Too much of anything, too much sex, too much shopping, too much of anything that we enjoy saps us of our ability to keep doing the things we want to do, the other things we want to do, right? So, too much of a good thing is not a beneficial thing for us, right? And that's where I believe this week's spread is pointing us. It's not pointing us in the direction of go out and get too much of stuff, but it's a cautionary spread, you might say. So, friends, I've already got, like I said, the spread laid out for us. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the whole spread. We'll talk about it very briefly, and then we'll break the spread apart into two major sections and we'll read the cards together. Are you all ready? Here we go. Friends, if you've been following along with this channel, maybe you already recognize the tarot deck that I used. You definitely would recognize the oracle deck that I use because I've been using it almost every week for a long time through this deep dive into the Thoth tarot system, right? So, the deck you saw on top is called the Ashira Tarot, I think. And if I'm wrong, I'll put a subtitle here with the correct title below. A little bit of a brain flatulence going on there. I think it's the Ashira Tarot. Anyways, it's a beautiful deck and it's available. If you want to get this deck, it's very, very Thoth inspired, and the colors are based on the colors of the old Golden Dawn, just like Lady Frida Harris's artwork, but it's different, right? It's very different. There's a little more than just the pips style from that we get in the original Harris-Crowley deck when we go to the minors. There are many differences in the artwork, but the tone is there. We have the astrological associations there. It's all there, and even a little bit more. So I highly recommend this deck, and there will be a link in the description box below so you can go and order it on, I think it's Make Playing Cards. The Oracle deck, which you saw below, is available on Amazon or anywhere. It's a wonderful deck that's also zodiacally based and is a wonderful addition to any deck that you want to read with astrological attributes, if you will. So I highly recommend these two decks, in addition to the other decks that I've used throughout the series this year and in past years. So I don't think I've used a deck so far that I would say, no, don't buy this. There are a couple of decks that I've used that I would caution you and say, you know, if you really want, for example, a Thoth deck, this one is lacking in some elements that I wish it had, but it's still very good, right? I've told you that in the past. So this deck I highly recommend anyways. And friends, what you just saw, just in case you are new here, is a positional spread, right? The three cards above each card is a response to a question or a prompt of some sort. And the first card responds to the prompt, significance. Now the significance. What is the significant answer to my question? How can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? The second card is challenge. And challenge can be something positive or negative. Oftentimes it's something positive. It's something to reach for, something to try to attain, something to move in the direction of. Sometimes it's a barrier or an obstacle, and this week seems to be that kind of a challenge, right? It's a challenging situation. And then the third card is advice, and that's pretty simple, right? The two oracle cards below can do one of several things. It can give us a reiteration of the spread above. It can give us additional advice, and sometimes it can dive in more deeply. It can dive into one of the cards above it more deeply. So, I'm not sure really which direction these two cards are pointing yet. We'll get to that when we get to it. First, what I'm going to do is I'll show you the three tarot cards once more so you get a refresher. Yeah, so you get to see them again briefly, and then we'll read them together. Are you all ready? Here are those three cards. The three cards you saw from left to right were the Ten of Cups, the Ten of Wands, a lot of tens, and then the Prince of Discs, right? The Prince of Discs. And I just have to say it again. This is a lovely deck. The cards are wonderful to shuffle. Here's what the backs look like. It's a great deck. Yeah. This one's actually even reversible, right? This way, this way. So if that's important to you, this deck fulfills that as well. Again, the cardstock is wonderful. Fabulous deck. And the first card is the Ten of Cups, satiety. You don't see that title here, unfortunately. But I know that the title is for the Harris-Crowley deck, Satiety. And it's a wonderful title for this card. Yeah, it points us to the direction of moving towards overindulgence, moving towards getting too much of a good thing. But you can see very clearly we have the astrological associations back down at the bottom. Now we have Mars in Pisces, which gives us what? It gives us the third decade of Pisces, right? Mars is domiciled in Scorpio. So Scorpio would be the third decade of Pisces for me. First decade of Pisces is Pisces. Second decade of Pisces for me is Cancer. The third decade is Scorpio. So we've got the Scorpio decade of Pisces, which gives us the fixed aspect of mutable water's vital attributes entering our spread, entering our natal charts, entering the question that we're asking, how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? And there's the fixed, a little bit stubborn, perhaps a little rigid, a little bit fixed aspect of water, which right now is mutable, which wants to clean things up and get ready to move on. But there's a little fixedness here, right? And because it's the third, the third decade, we have an exaltation of Jupiter, which normally for me belongs in Pisces, Jupiter in Cancer, right? Now, that's not all that significant for this spread, because we don't have any other Cancer going on. We don't have any other Jupiter here either. Yeah, but just for your edification, right? The exaltation would be Jupiter in Cancer. And what does satiety mean for Aleister Crowley? Well, first let's take a look at the card here. In both Lady Frida Harris's card and in this card, we can see that elements are placed in the form of the Tree of Life. You can see that, right? Yeah. So at the top we've got Kether, Chokmah, Binah, moving down into Chesed, Geburah, Tifereth, and then we go into Netzach, Hod, then Yesod, foundation, and the bottom, Malkut, for kingdom, right? So we have the whole Tree of Life here in the water element, which is cool. The elements that are creating the Tree of Life in this card and in Lady Frida Harris's card are different. Here we've got flowers forming that Tree of Life. In Lady Frida Harris's art, they're actually cups. Here we've also got two sharks down there. And what do we think of when we think of sharks? We think of creatures that can't stop. They have to keep swimming to keep breathing, right? That might not actually be true, but that's the image. The inability to stop something, the inability to stop swimming, the need to keep going, and the need, perhaps even the need to keep feeding. So Crowley, when talking about this card, points to things like morbid hunger. Yeah, hunger that is not to satisfy an actual need, but something that is unending and has no limits, right? Morbid hunger springs from surfeit, having more than enough, causing cravings. Now we've got more than enough, but we crave more. We crave more stimulation, more satisfaction, more morbid hunger. See what I did there? I just realized that myself. More morbid hunger, right? But that's not a good thing. Now, being satisfied is great. Having enough stuff is wonderful. But when we have enough and we still want more, that's a danger of this card. So, how can we live life more intentionally? Be happy. But now, what is next? Rather than now, I want more of it, I'm happy with the food I'm eating and I want more food and I want more food and I want more food. Instead of that, we think, okay, I'm happy with what I've eaten, and now what? What will I do next? I get up from the table and when I'm satisfied, and I go do something else. I get up from the shopping cart and I go do something else, right? I step off of the treadmill or I put down the weights and I go do something else. I've had enough and I'm ready to move on to the next thing, the different thing. Carrying that, not saying, okay, I'm worried, I gotta stop now, no more, not that. But I'm happy, I'm satisfied, this is good, now what can I explore? That's what this card is directing us towards, I believe. So, to every peaceful time, a storm comes to shake things up. And shaking things up can be a good thing. Yeah, shaking things up gets the dust off. It helps the things that have accrued around us, the things that have precipitated around us to crumble and slough off. That's what I was looking for. Slough off, so that we can be lighter, more agile, more flexible, more limber, able to do more and different things. Sometimes the shakeup is good, but sometimes when we're too attached to the stuff that we have, even the stuff that we've accrued and have accreted, and the things that are actually weighing us down, if we're too attached to those things, that shakeup will feel uncomfortable or even painful, or devastating even. So, too much of a good thing is not a good thing for us now. We don't want to be full of ourselves either, right? We don't want to be too egoic and I am the best, I am everything. We don't want to do that now. We want to want change. We don't need to want change, we want to want change. Wanting change would be beneficial for us right now. Pursue desires, but when we've satisfied one desire, we don't want to continue pursuing that one. We want to pursue another one. That is what is going to be beneficial for us. And avoiding overindulgence, avoiding too much of a good thing, which could be, again, anything from food to exercise to, if you painted anything, you know that you can enjoy the process of painting, but if you don't know when to stop, it can be a bad thing, right? That's also, be careful, but not be careful, but know when to stop. And be sensitive to when you are full and when what you're doing is full, and be ready for change. Be happy with change. Be happy with looking for and discovering the new thing. Right? So what is the next card? The next card is an obstacle. And it's an obstacle which, I think, flows naturally from the 10 of Cups. Right? The 10 of Wands. And you'll notice here, it's an interesting image. And it speaks very clearly to what Crowley says about this card. Even more clearly, I think, than perhaps even Lady Frida Harris's art does. Although Lady Frida Harris's art does speak the symbols that we need, that we want, I should say. However, this card does so in an even clearer way, I think. And Lady Frida Harris's deck, we've got 8 wands in the background and 2 big wands in the front, and they are blocking the path, right? It's called oppression. There's a blockage. There's an inability to move on. In this card, we have an actual gate blocking our passage. And on that gate, do you notice we also have a tree of life formed by hearts, right? They're like flaming hearts, they're flaming hearts to me. I don't know if you see something else, but I see flaming hearts in the form of the tree of life, which is wonderful. It's wonderful to have a tree of life on the 10 cards, for me. You see here at the bottom again, the card is called oppression, that we have Saturn in Sagittarius. Now, Saturn in Sagittarius is not a natural fit for me, but what does Saturn in Sagittarius mean? When people have Saturn in Sagittarius, what are they like? Well, they're destined to be successful. Yeah, Saturn will drive Sagittarius into focus and boundaries and moving the direction that will be successful for them. But they must buckle down and focus. And Saturn helps Sagittarius do that. Helps Sagittarius, which wants to play, which wants to move forward, which wants to be at the front of everything. Saturn helps Sagittarius buckle down and do the work necessary for success. So, for Crowley, the Ten of Wands is being carried away by the desire to achieve something, and that being carried away needs to be reined in. Yeah? Kind of like what I mentioned with going to the gym. Sometimes we get so intensely focused on exercise, we forget that there is a good time to stop. Right? I don't know if you've ever experienced this in the gym. You keep doing it, and you lose that time when it's a good time to stop, and you overexert yourself. Maybe once, maybe on a regular basis for a while, until problems really do start showing up. So this is the card that says, whoa, Nele, maybe it's time to rein it in for a while. And it's also something we want to be careful. We might end up being a little bit stubborn or a little bit obstinate because we feel powerful and empowered. And that stubborn and obstinacy is what keeps us trying to go beyond what is good, what is beneficial. Our ambition might also be overextended. And because our ambition is overextended, we could lose our aim. You know, Sagittarius is the archer, right? But if our ambition as the archer is to shoot way beyond where we can see, we lose our aim. And that could be part of this as well. Ambition could be overextended. So there's a call to return to the source of the Ace of Wands. Why are we doing what we're doing? What do we really want to do? Where is our passion? What is that seed that we still want to nurture? And often this is internal oppression rather than external. And there is a great possibility that we could be facing external oppression, people standing in our way, blocking our passage, pressing us down. But more often than not, this is a sign of internal oppression, overwhelm even. So why? Why was this thing that we started begun in the first place? We're asked to find our why again. Why do I want to do this thing? Yeah? So here, especially if we think of Lady Frida Harris's drawing, we think of the wand having conquered and done its work too well. And it didn't know when to stop, and now it's gone into self-oppression. Now, because of its success, it keeps trying to do more and more and more and more and more, and becomes oppressive for us. Right? It's that danger from the Ten of Cups taken to an extreme even, is here. So this is the challenge. We don't want to fall into this. And one way to remember, why did we start eating in the first place if it was food? Why did we start exercising in the first place if it's exercise? Why did I start painting in the first place? Why did I start painting this painting in the first place? Right? Did I sit down at the table to eat to the point where I want to throw up? Probably not. Am I still enjoying the food that I'm eating, or am I just shoving it in my face now? Yeah? Does it still taste as good as the first bite? Exercise. How are my muscles? Am I doing this for my muscles, or am I doing this to lose weight? Am I being distracted by endorphins, or am I really focused on really feeling everything that's happening in my body? Right? There are all these things to consider when things seem to be going well. We want to keep going, we want to keep going, we want to keep going. That can be an obstacle. That can be oppressive to our self-created oppression. And so, what do we have for advice? The Prince of Discs. Prince of Discs is lovely. And this card is different from, but reminds me a little bit of Lady Frida Harris's art. Lady Frida Harris's art, we've got the prince sitting on the platform, kind of like chariot, being pulled by a bull. And behind the prince, there's this large, it looks to me like dark brass, like a dark brass disc, a huge one, larger than the prince himself. And remember, we're all princes. It doesn't matter what body we inhabit, whether we're in a male body, a female body, an intersex body, a trans body, a cis body, whatever. We're all princes, we're all princesses, we're all kings and queens. Yes, queen. So, but in that, so we have a large, what looks like to me, a dark brass disc, almost copper, maybe brass, and there are semicircular either protrusions or indentations in the disc. It's a beautiful card. Now, here we don't have the brass disc, but we got the bull pulling the cart, right? We got the prince sitting down, and instead of a brass disc behind, we've got what looks like an not a surrealistic, but an artistic impression of what reminds me of peacock feathers. And it's not peacock feathers, but it reminds me of peacock feathers. A beautiful card. And because it's the Prince of Discs, we have Taurus, right? So the bull. Taurus is the domicile of Venus, so we have fixed Earth's vital attributes entering our reading, entering our natal charts, entering our lives, entering the question we ask, how can we live life more intentionally? And the advice is to be Tauran. Yeah? Now, so we had the fixed aspect of mutable water at the beginning. Now we got fixed earth. The advice is to be fixed earth. Yeah? To enjoy what we have. Take it slow. Go at our own pace. Don't try and match anybody else. Don't feel pushed to do anything that we're not ready to do. Go slowly and at our own pace. And Crowley associates all of the court cards with hexagrams. This is hexagram 53, which is Gen, I think, which is what? It's gradual development. Now, the wind is above the mountain. Because the princes are air and mountain is earth. Air of earth, hexagram 53. Wind above mountain. So, this is a planned, staged, or stepped organization of affairs towards a long-term goal. Now, remember, we have the caution of not overextending our ambition, but we do want to have long-term goals and plans with this card. That's a good thing. Just don't go beyond what we can do, or see, or be, or become at this moment. Right? But we do want to have a long-term plan, and we want to move forward with that. There's a benefit to bringing slow adaptation to whatever we're doing. Performing reality checks. And repurposing of the things that we have around us to an intended goal. Rather than buying a whole bunch of new stuff, we can take what we've got and repurpose it for what we want to do. Being practical with our resources. We want to be careful we want to take careful stock. We want to take careful stock of our progression and where we're going. Are we still on track? Are we still moving in the direction that we want to be moving in? Which is what? To live life intentionally, which is to be open to the powerful flow of intention, which will move us in the direction we want to go in at our own proper, appropriate pace. We want to check the clarity of our goal as well. Do we know really what we want? Have we clearly visualized those experiences we want to have and have placed on our powerful current of intention? And again, we want to be adaptable to circumstances. Now we want to plan in accordance to the resources and skills that we have, the knowledge that we have, and the experience we have. Again, we don't want to overshoot our ambition. We don't want to overshoot with our ambition. But we want to plan practically and be adaptable. Because as we move forward, we are going to have more experiences, we're going to evolve, we're going to have more skills, and we might be able to move that goalpost out a little bit farther. And keep moving in that direction and check, am I still on course? Do I still see my goal? And there are no goals. Do I still see what I hope to experience in the future? Which could be what? It could be the winning of a race. It could be the creation of a work of art. It could be giving a presentation. It could be cleaning a house. It could be cooking a meal. It could be anything. Right? Am I still moving in that direction? Or am I distracting myself with ambitions and self-inflation or any number of things? So this is the advice. Slow and steady wins the race, especially if we keep on track, keep focused. Do reality checks. Check my navigation. Check my resources. Making sure I'm purposing what I have in the service of where I want to go and what I want to become. Right? Does that make sense, doesn't it? So friends, I've got 2 cards for advice already. I think they're advice. I don't really know yet. So I've got 2 oracle cards to show you. First, let me show them to you right now. The 2 oracle cards you saw from left to right were generosity, which was Saturn in Leo, and then impulsiveness, which was Mars in Aries. Now, Mars in Aries is actually a good fit. Saturn in Leo is not a great fit. Yeah, Jupiter in Leo would have been great. Even Mars in Leo or the Sun. But Saturn in Leo is not a comfortable fit for the way I look at astrology, but it's there. And you'll remember we had Saturn above in Sagittarius for our challenge card. And then we had Mars in Pisces. So it was in its water sign with the 10 of Cups. But here we have it in Aries, a fire sign. So we've got 2 fire signs down here at the bottom. We've got Leo and Aries. The planets are Saturn, which we had, again, in the 10 of Wands. And then Mars, which we had in our first card, the 10 of Cups. So we got those first 2 cards a little bit emphasized here, a little bit of an echo here. And we start off with generosity, which is a lovely card. It's shown up for us a couple of times. Again, Saturn in Leo. What do we see here? Above, there's a prophet giving proclamations. And below, let me point him out to you, his back to us, we have a speaker. Yeah? Enthusiastically relating the words of the prophet to a crowd before him, her, them, whatever. Yes, but the speaker has people in front, and the speaker is speaking the words of the prophet above. Lovely card. And yet, instead of prophecy or prediction, it's called generosity. It's the sharing of our talents, perhaps. The sharing of our gifts. So, this card, we're suggested to use tenacity and self-discipline in showy generosity for recognition and for our better position in the eyes of others. Yeah? So, we're tenacious, we're disciplined in the way that we show off our generosity. Yeah? Which means we want to be sure that we are generous on a regular basis. And making sure that we don't do it in secret for this card, right? We want to be not ostentatiously generous in the sense that we don't want to give away more than we have or that we're comfortably able to give away. But we want to be generous and showily generous. We want people to recognize that we are generous people. We want to have our ambition backed by our artistic potential as well. So remember, that ambition that we had up above in oppression, right? We want to keep the ambition. We just don't want it to go beyond what we are capable of achieving at this point in time. Now, we don't want to overshoot what we can do, but we want to be ambitious, and we want that ambition to be backed by our artistic potential, which is a leonine trait. Now, we have the desire for respect and admiration, which can be an okay thing, but there's also a danger here as well. Yeah, we could become overbearing. We could become approval seekers. That's the shadow side. So if we can avoid that, if we can avoid being pompous and overbearing, and if we can avoid, in our desire to be recognized for our generosity, being look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, like me, if we can avoid that, we're good. So, we have creative joy to share. And if we can do that with no attachment and with no strings, and let people know that we're doing it, allow people to see that we are doing it. We don't want to advertise it. We don't want to put up billboards and say, look at how generous I am. But we want people to see it. We want it to be clear, obvious, open. And we also may need to deal with disappointment, either in love or creative matters. Now, we want to engage our creativity with our generosity, but even if we're obviously generous, we might not get the reaction that we wanted. We could be disappointed, right? But we can also get help from others. We also want to remember that there are people there who are willing, ready, and able to help us to achieve what we want to achieve. Perhaps because we are generous beings, yeah? Not as a tit for tat, not as quid pro quo. I was generous to you, so now you got to help me. But because we are generous and we allow people to see our generosity, there will be more people available who have an interest in helping us. Right? That makes sense. So this is where we begin, and that's paired with this impulsiveness card. Which, what do we see? Well, we see Mars in Aries, a perfect fit. So we've got cardinal fire's vital attributes entering this reading, this spread, which was great. And here we see a man galloping in a race, right? You see that man galloping in a race? Above the man, there's a seal, the disc, right? Which shows 6 points. It's a 6-pointed star. And this shows is a symbol of the 6 steps of creation. And the protector of all things. It's a protective seal, and it's also a seal of the 6 steps of creation. The horseshoe is a sign of good luck. So we've got a dude riding on a horse, maybe in a race, trying to accomplish something, trying to win, and we've got luck above us, and we've got protection above us as well. Excuse me. So, this impulsiveness card points to our energetic and impulsive natures. We might feel the need to get things done. Got to get it done. I got to get going forward. I got to keep moving, which is fine as long as we don't move into the Ten of Wands oppression, right? And because we have fortune here, our wins outnumber our losses because of our Martian resilience in this card as well. We have a desire to start a lot of projects. Yeah, Mars in Aries wants to do a lot of different things. So that's a good thing, but we want to be careful that we're not overextending ourselves and then causing ourselves oppression. Because we can go over the top. Yeah? And if we go over top, we can start riding roughshod over other people. And instead of being generous and helping them, we can start stepping and just trampling all over them. We don't want to do that. So, physical competitive action might be asked for our well-being here. So we want to be active. We want to be mobile. We want to do stuff. We want to feel the power of our impulses without going over the top, without causing the problems that the Ten of Wands was pointing towards. But if we're energetic, we follow our impulses to start a bunch of things, not too many things, but a bunch of things. And we enjoy our outgoing natures. We feel more comfortable in the front of the pack, which is wonderful. Sagittarius loves doing that too, which was in the Ten of Wands. But we don't go overboard. We don't try to do too much of that good thing. And we're generous to other people. And we are fully able to ask for help in doing the stuff we want to do. We're good, we're golden, right? We're good to go. And we do that, we're energized, we want to start a lot of things, and we are also the Prince of Discs. We move at our own pace. We enjoy doing the work. We do reality checks. We make sure we're not stepping on other people as we get excited about things we want to do, without doing too much of those good things, right? Because too much of a good thing is not a good thing. So friends, I think that's where we are. I think that makes sense. If you think it makes sense, let me know in the comments below. If it does not make sense, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And if you want a reading from me, my email address is below. You can send me an email and we'll find a way to get you a reading. Or let me know in the comments below you want a reading. We'll find a way to meet up in a more private platform for the reading to happen. You ready for that? Let me know. And thank you. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button, and thank you for subscribing, and thank you for commenting below. All of that stuff helps bring the channel out in the front of the eyes of people who are perhaps looking for this content. So thank you for doing that. You help them a lot. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.